In the fall of 2020, we were thinking about how to best welcome our visitors back, knowing at the time that by the time we reopen, people would have had experienced major change in one way or another. And we were trying to think of ways that would help people process the change and also encourage a positive outlook on the future. Stories of Change touches on 3 of the major events that brought on change that affected people's lives. One is obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. And the second major event involving the killing of George Floyd and many others that spurred change on a broader level. And yet another change on top of it was the record-breaking California wildfires as a sign of environmental change that's ongoing. The exhibit encourages processing of the change that people experienced, and we wanted to also provide people with the opportunity to connect with each other. So the exhibition area consists of different elements. One are the vibrant murals by 2 local artists, Smock Carius and Bianca Rivera. A second element is the photography by Amy Snyder. A third element is the participatory element that allows visitors to share their own personal stories of change.
I refer to myself as a contemporary artist, so I'm doing art of the now. Mostly it's a reflection of my experience, so it's coming from an African American perspective. The piece is going to be two young boys, brothers, who are, they're trying to see who's the tallest, who's growing the fastest, and they're sort of standing back to back. And so what I'm hoping that the piece will do is to show the African American male in a light that they're not usually portrayed in, especially young African American men. They are often painted as criminals, thugs, and they grew up just like any other kids, doing the same things the kids do, having the same desires and wishes and hopes for their lives. I'm hoping that people will see a side of the African American experience that they may not be able to see or be able to consider. I really want people to get in touch with their humanity when they see my work.
Mural making is very new to me. And so it's been a real joy to see that my illustrative practice can be transferred into this very large and public space. When we first started the process and the Exploratorium team gave me 4 themes to work with or get inspired by, one of them was celebrating moments of joy and community. I was just immediately drawn to that one. So what I landed on for this final design is just to display the little vignettes of this past year. This piece definitely meshes moments of collective action. You see families holding up poster boards and protesting, and you see the small moments of joy when they're introducing a new baby to the family via FaceTime, or someone is announcing to the family that they got engaged via Zoom. And so I really wanted to just visually explore that whole spectrum of what we all definitely experienced this past year.
I would describe my photography as portrait documentary, so people-centric, things happening in real time, kind of journalistic. And when COVID started, I kind of went back to my first love in photography, which is street photography. Initially, I started by walking around in my neighborhood with my camera. I feel like it's a really great way to see how things are changing in the landscape. The exhibition of photographs is divided into 3 walls. The first wall, when you enter on the left, is about the fires that happened last year, in particular the day that the sky turned orange. The second wall is about the social justice movement, in particular in Oakland. The third wall is on shelter in place. Most of the photographs don't have people in them, and that's because there weren't a lot of people out and about. But you did see signs of people wanting to communicate. I really tried to edit the photographs to show some of the more positive aspects of the year. I hope that it shows some of the resilience of people. I also hope that they see a little bit of levity in my photographs.
At heart, Stories of Change is about how we think, feel, and behave in a changed environment, especially in a social environment. And the broader theme of Gallery 1 is how we relate to our social environment, is the role of humans in their social environment. Many of the exhibits that you see on the floor in Gallery 1 are informed by different disciplines in the social sciences. Stories of Change focuses more on the arts than on the sciences, but the Exploratorium has a history of focusing on both art and science as major fundamental methods of inquiry. And to me, as a social scientist, this is a particularly productive marriage because both artists and social scientists share an interest in the role of humans in the social environment.